Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. BiteSquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order.
Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on the show, Steve. Should be a good one. Thanks for having me, Steven.
Double S anytime, man.
Christopher Mando Russo here. You are listening to Steven Strom on TalkNorth.com.
Always passionate, always fiery. You're listening to the Strom Sports Show. Take it away, Steven.
And I am always passionate and always fiery, but I'm not always healthy as I'm battling this congestion, this allergies, this change of weather. We know New Jersey, 90 degrees one day, 30 degrees the next. I'm battling, so I apologize. I'm congested today, but welcome in here to another edition of the Strom Sports Show, episode 65. Very happy to have you guys along today. We've got a bunch to get into. I'll tell you why Jalen Ramsey to the Vikings is as unrealistic as Kirk Cousins winning a primetime game. Sorry, Kirk. 3 things we learned from last week's Vikings-Packer game. We've also got a special guest in the house today, Ed Borsilli from NFL Radio on SiriusXM to preview the Vikings and Raiders, which I'm a little nervous about today. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'll tell you why in a little bit. How the Twins are playing with house money this October, and the new news: Domingo Germán is off the Yankees squad. He is a big part of that pitching rotation. We'll see how that affects the Twins if they match up. And also, we've got my Week 3 picks, which have once again the NFL has given me some trouble with the picks. College football, little different story. But let me begin with this. We all want things in life. We all want the eye-opening car, the beautiful house. But in reality, and the reality is for most of the people in the world, you only can have a few of these things. And when you invest in that expensive car or massive house, you're handcuffed into buying other things. Jalen Ramsey wants out of Jacksonville. The Vikings need corners. Viking fans are screaming, "We want Jalen Ramsey! Ramsey to the Vikes!" How can you not do it? Go shop it. Go shop Trey Waynes. We want Jalen Ramsey. But when you invest your money in that pricey car or costly house like the Vikings did with Kirk Cousins, you're handcuffed financially. It's not realistic to bring in Jalen Ramsey, Viking fans. And to be quite honest, this speaks more volume about Kirk Cousins more than anything. And I'll explain to you why. Because Kirk Cousins was supposed to be the missing piece of this team. When guys like Jalen Ramsey ask out of Jacksonville, the Vikings were expected to sit back, chuckle, and say, "Oh man, we don't need Jalen Ramsey. We have Kirk Cousins. He'd be enough. We needed one missing piece of the puzzle. We got it. Kirk Cousins is the guy. We don't need anybody else." But now we entertain this idea of Ramsey to the Vikings because Kirk Cousins hasn't turned out the way Vikings fans, the organization, and pretty much the whole NFL expected it to play out. So I'll entertain this for a few seconds, but then I'm going to explain to you why it can't happen. So number one, let's just look around the league. Minkah Fitzpatrick, he was just traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Minkah is significantly younger, great player, and he was traded for a first-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and a sixth-round pick. Jalen Ramsey's a better player than Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's more proven. He's more of a shutdown corner. So now your counter to this is probably, Steven, Jalen Ramsey is on his rookie deal. It's only a $3.6 million cap hit. Guys, do we think Jalen Ramsey is going to agree to play somewhere without restructuring his deal? Do you think he's going to go to Minnesota, play on his $3.6 million deal, and not have any guarantee that he's going to be signed long-term? Come on. Come on now. This is the same dude that pulled up in an armored money truck in training camp, begging the Jacksonville Jaguars to pay him. And last but certainly not least, why this won't happen is Mike Zimmer's old school. He doesn't put up with the off-the-field antics, and Jalen Ramsey, as great as he is a walking distraction. He had the GQ incident where he went into the magazine, ripped Eli Manning, ripped Big Ben, ripped a bunch of these quarterbacks that are Hall of Famers, and Jalen Ramsey was in his second year in the NFL. He was actually suspended last year in the joint practices, because the Vikings and the Jaguars did joint practices last year, Ramsey was suspended for going after a team reporter, okay? And he was also ready to fight Doug Marrone just about a week ago. No thank you. I'll rock with Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, and Mike Hughes once he comes back. Mike Zimmer will not entertain this. He will not want this. And let's just move on here. Jalen Ramsey is not coming to Minnesota for abundance of reasons. Let's segue to this. The 3 things we learned from Sunday's Viking-Packers game. One of my favorite things to do. Let's get into it. Number 1, Mike Zimmer's defense once again was not ready to go in a big spot on the road. We think back, Philadelphia Eagles, 49-0, or 49-7, or 38-7, I'm sorry. You know, you kind of forget when the misery is that hard. Mike Zimmer's defense was not ready to go again, and you anticipated it. And he talked about it all week. He said the whole week he was showing his team film on the bad in that Week 1 Falcons game, which there was not a lot of bad defensively, because he knew that this team gets a big head. And when you get a big head in the NFL, you're humbled very quickly, especially when you go to Lambeau Field with Aaron Rodgers. And bing, bang, boom, it was 21-0. I mean, the first drive, it was just chunks of yardage, 29 yards to Adams, 15 yards of Valdez-Scantling, 15 yards up the middle with Aaron Jones. I mean, just like that, it was 21-0. And the Vikings have to try to come back, which they're not built to do. I've said it 100 times. The Vikings, they're just not built to come back in these types of games. They need to establish a lead early and let the other team adapt to them. They want to play defense. They want to run the ball. They can't fall behind in these types of games, and it's unfortunate because it's going to happen throughout the season. But once again, this is why you signed Kirk Cousins, to win in a multiple magnitude of ways. He hasn't been able to deliver. Number 2 here, the pass blocking, it has to be better. And I'm not going to sit and rip Kirk Cousins, because every radio show in America is doing that, especially Minnesota ones. I think the pass blocking has to be better. You looked at last week. He doesn't have a lot of time, and when he doesn't see his first read, the pocket has collapsed. Garrett Bradbury, as great as he's been in the run blocking scheme, he has not done well with the pass blocking. Pat Eflon was also out this game, so obviously that hurt this team. Riley Reif was struggling towards the end of that game. The pass blocking needs to be a little more efficient. It needs to be able to give Cousins at least 2 to 3 seconds just to let him deliver. Because once again, when Kirk Cousins has time, he's a tremendously accurate quarterback. But when he is under duress, he's not. He's not very mobile. He tends to get very antsy in the pocket. He doesn't have a good feel for pressure, even though he did a couple of times. He ended up scrambling away for a first down, which was huge. But the pass blocking has to be better, especially this weekend. And they're going to get a chance against the Raiders, who don't have the greatest front four. So I think the offense is going to be able to build some confidence today. Number 3, yes, the refs were bad. I understand that. The refs had some terrible calls in this game. It seemed like every call was going against the Vikings. But let me tell you guys this. Bad teams let the refs determine the outcome of games. Let's just be honest. Bad teams let the referees determine the outcome. The Vikings had every opportunity to win this game. They were down 21-16. They were on Green Bay's 11-yard line. Kirk Cousins threw a tremendously bad, pitiful interception. Okay, it's not like the Vikings didn't have chances to win. The Vikings really started off slow defensively in that first quarter, giving up 14 points and then 21 to start that second quarter. And then the kicking game, you come down the first drive. It's a really nice drive you put together. You go to kick it to make it 7-3. Dan Bailey misses the field goal. There's a lot of self-inflicting wounds in this game. I don't want to blame it 100% on the referees here. Like I said, man, bad teams let the referees determine the outcome. I will not do that. Okay? Ed Borsilli here is up next. He'll break down the Vikings and Raiders. He'll tell us some matchups to look out for. Josh Jacobs coming in. They're really feeding him the ball. We'll see how the Vikings defense matched up against him. Derek Carr coming up here right after this. And we're joined here by Ed Borsilli from NFL Radio on SiriusXM. Quick personal story. Ed was the one who gave me my first internship at SiriusXM, and my listeners know I interned for Chris Mad Dog Russo, and I currently work there now. So this is a pretty cool moment for me, and I already owed Ed one for the internship, but now I'm going to end up owing him double because he's giving me the time today to help break down the Raiders and Vikings game. Ed, how's everything going today?
Steve, everything's going good, man. You could pay me back with a couple Kirk Cousins interceptions this week if you like. I'd appreciate that one. That would go a long way. But happy to have you. Glad to be on the show.
Oh man, hopefully that doesn't happen. But let's get into it here. Ed is a huge Raiders guy, and he knows his stuff. So I really wanted to bring him on today because let's be honest here, and I'm the biggest Viking fan out there. We don't watch a lot of the AFC West, especially with the Raiders. So both teams here sitting at 1-1. And for those who haven't watched Oakland very much, offensively, they've got Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, the rookie, and Terrell Williams. Tell us, Ed, what do the Raiders like to do offensively and will try to do against one of the premier home defenses in the league?
Yeah, I mean, on offense, it really started in the preseason, man. The whole Antonio Brown situation really was a shot to this team because, again, you take a guy like that off the field, it kind of dumbs down the rest of the offense. In terms of, Tyrell Williams has been playing really well. He's more of a really good number two. He's got to be the number one guy now. So the offense kind of took a hit right before the season started. I mean, look, they want to feed Josh Jacobs the ball. They've been giving him the ball. He's got 35 carries through 2 games. Tyrell Williams is the number one target. Darren Waller is a guy that, everybody knows from Hard Knocks, battled through some addiction problems. He's really a special weapon. The guy came in the league as a wide receiver. Now he's a tight end. He's a matchup nightmare for some teams. He's caught double-digit passes already this season, so he's been good so far. They haven't really established the slot guy yet. They're mixing in got like a Ryan Grant, a veteran guy, Hunter Renfrow from Clemson. So I don't really know what the identity is of this football team. They've been really, really good early in football games, especially the first 2 drives. They marched down the field in both games and scored points. Again, you remember they were up 10-0 on the Chiefs early on, going into the second quarter. So this team early on, you could say when it's Gruden's play scripted that this team operates efficiently. It's just the latter part of the game. So I don't think they've really identified what they want to be yet. I think they want to get Josh Jacobs a little more involved, especially in the goal line. He's been battling some injuries this week. So I think it's yet to be determined, but they do have some weapons on offense. I like the receivers. They're looking for someone to kind of jump off the page at them a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, I think the Raiders do have talent, and I think you do have to be patient, and this is a society in a world where they want instant gratification, and they want, Sean McVay comes in and instantly turns over the Rams. I mean, that's not how it goes in a lot of sports, so I think a lot of people do have to be patient here. You mentioned Antonio Brown. Why do you think Brown just never seemed to settle in as a Raider? There were constant problems and drama. What happened in your mind in this situation?
I mean, you could take it a million different ways. I mean, was his ultimate, I hate to say, I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt that it was his ultimate plan to eventually sign with the New England Patriots, because the Steelers are never going to trade him to the Patriots. Everybody knows that. So, I mean, he obviously, they had a deal with Buffalo. They're probably going to send him to Buffalo. He nixed that one. He didn't want to try to go there. I mean, I think he tried to make it work in Oakland, and I just think it didn't work out with him and Mayock. Mayock went after his money. In Pittsburgh, say what you will about Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's been a really successful head coach. Mike Tomlin swept a lot of things under the rug when it came to Antonio Brown in terms of missed meetings.
100%.
They didn't hold him accountable, and Mike Mayock did, and Antonio Brown did not like that. He did not like that they were going after his guaranteed money. He wanted to be paid. He wanted it all up front, and he didn't want to be bothered. And Mike Mayock, wasn't having it. John Gruden tried to settle it down and said, hey, we want you in here. Look, if you're John Gruden, you want this guy. This guy's a top 3 receiver in football. I mean, this guy's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. You want him in your offense. He can still play at a high level, as you can see now with the Patriots. So John Gruden tried to smooth this over. I just think the Raiders had to protect themselves when it came to Antonio Brown and his off-the-field stuff, and they weren't going to give him the guarantees that they need. And I think he just forced his way out, it's unfortunate. I mean, I was pumped up, and I think every Raider fan was pumped up. Derek Carr was definitely pumped up to have this guy in the offense, because this guy, take last week's game, for example. They're up 10-0, all of a sudden the Chiefs drop 21 on you in a blink of an eye. Antonio Brown's a guy that could take a pass and make a play. I mean,
right.
A game-breaking player. And the Raiders, right now don't have that. I just think it came down to his relationship with Mayock. I just think, he wanted his guaranteed money, and they were going to protect themselves, and it was just best for both parties.
Yeah, I think it's a good point because I follow Antonio Brown on his YouTube page, and the way he interacted with Derek Carr, it seemed authentic. So I don't think it was a Derek Carr, Antonio Brown issue. I think you hit it on the head. Antonio Brown has not had a lot of discipline. Let's just be honest here. They call Mike Tomlin a quote-unquote player's coach for a reason, and I think he let a lot of that stuff slide. And when you're Mike Mayock, you're with John Gruden.